Greece, the southernmost of the countries of the Balkan Peninsula. Geography has greatly influenced the country's development. Mountains historically restricted internal communications, but the sea opened up wider horizons. Greece has more than 2,000 islands, of which about 170 are inhabited. Some of the easternmost Aegean islands lie just a few miles off the Turkish coast. The country's capital is Athens, which expanded rapidly in the second half of the 20th century. A Greek legend has it that God distributed soil through a sieve and used the stones that remained to build Greece. The country's barren landscape historically caused the people to migrate. Greece is a country that is at once European, Balkan, Mediterranean, and Near Eastern. It lies at the juncture of Europe, Asia, and Africa and is heir to the heritages of classical Greece, the Byzantine Empire, and nearly 4 centuries of Ottoman Turkish rule. Land: Greece is bordered to the east by the Aegean Sea, to the south by the Mediterranean Sea, and to the west by the Ionian Sea. Only to the north and northeast does it have land borders with, from west to east, Albania, the Republic of North Macedonia, Bulgaria, and Turkey. The Greek landscape is conspicuous not only for its rugged beauty but also for its complexity and variety. 3 elements dominate the sea: the mountains and the lowland. The Greek mainland is sharply indented. Arms and inlets of the sea penetrate so deeply that only a small, wedge-shaped portion of the interior is more than 50 miles from the coast. The rocky headlands and peninsulas extend outward to the sea, where there are many island arcs and archipelagos. Plant and animal life. As in other Balkan countries, the vegetation of Greece is open to influences from several major biogeographic zones, with the major Mediterranean and Western Asian elements supplemented by plants and animals from the Central European interior. The subtle but complex vegetation mosaic is a product of the climatic effects of elevation, the contrast between north and south, local relief, and 8 or 9 millennia of human settlement and land use. Degraded plant associations and soil erosion are common. People, ethnic groups. The population of Greece, in particular that of northern Greece, has always been characterized by a great deal of ethnic, religious, and linguistic diversity. Migrations, invasions, imperial conquests, and 20th century wars all contributed to this cultural diversity, which continues to characterize modern Greece in spite of several instances of population exchanges, which occurred as a result of treaties between Greece and Bulgaria in 1919 and between Greece and Turkey in 1923, along with long-standing government policies of assimilation or Hellenization. Languages. The Greek language is one of the oldest attested Indo-European languages, its earliest written form dating to about the 15th century BC. Koine and Byzantine Greek represent the middle phases of Greek. Those ultimately gave way in the 19th century to modern Greek, although from roughly the 15th century onward, the language had a very modern aspect to it. Religion of Greece. Despite the long Ottoman administration, virtually all of the population belongs to the Church of Greece, an autocephalous Eastern Orthodox Church. This body appoints its own ecclesiastical hierarchy and is headed by a synod of 12 metropolitans under the presidency of the Archbishop of Athens. Almost all Cretans belong to a special branch of the Church of Greece headed by the Archbishop of Crete, who is directly responsible to the Ecumenical Patriarchate of Constantinople, as are the monks of Mount Athos, who constitute a semi-autonomous entity with the Greek governor but with their own administration. Economy. Greece's economy underwent rapid growth in the post-World War II period, but it has remained one of the least developed in the European Union. The country's natural resources are limited, its industrialization process has been slow, and it has struggled with the balance of payments. Shipping, tourism, and remittances from expatriate workers are the mainstays of the economy. Although the Greek economy traditionally has been based on free enterprise, many sectors of the economy have come under direct or, through the banks, indirect government control. This process of establishing state ownership of the economy has been associated with both right and center-left governments. Agriculture, forestry, and fishing. Greece's agricultural potential is hampered by poor soil, inadequate levels of precipitation, a landholding system that has served to increase the number of unproductive smallholdings, and population migration from the countryside to cities and towns. Less than 1/3 of the land area is cultivable, with the remainder consisting of pasture, scrub, and forest. Only in the plains of Thessalia, Macedonia, and Thracia is cultivation possible on a reasonably large scale. Their corn, wheat, barley, sugar beets, peaches, tomatoes, cotton, and tobacco are grown. Labor and taxation in the mid-1970s. With the return of parliamentary democracy, trade unions became mobilized. For the next decade and a half, there was a period of increased strike activity characterized by greater militancy and expanding membership in organized labor. By the early 1990s, however, as the Greek economy became more stable and less industrial, trade union membership and bargaining power were diminished. Though not officially recognized, there are trade union factions belonging to each of the major political parties. Overall, however, union labor in Greece is primarily represented by the General Confederation of Greek Workers, Transportation and Telecommunications. Only since the last half of the 20th century have all the country's villages become accessible to wheeled traffic and linked to the national electricity grid. There are no navigable rivers and only one waterway, the Kourthiakos Canal, which divides the Peloponnesos from mainland Greece. Although the canal significantly shortens the sea route from the Italian ports to Piraeus, it has never fulfilled the economic expectations of its builders because of its shallow draft and narrow width. There are also major ports at Patras and Thessaloniki. Health and welfare. In the 1980s, the government instituted a national healthcare system. Many Greek doctors train, at least partly, abroad, and they and the major hospitals meet international standards. However, Greeks often choose to travel abroad for medical care if they can afford it. The pension system in Greece is extraordinarily complex. Workers are insured under the Social Insurance Institute and the Agricultural Insurance Organization programs. Education has long been prized in Greece, both as an end in itself and as a means of upward social mobility. Wealthy Greeks of the diaspora have been major benefactors of schools and universities in their homeland. The state educational system is somewhat rigid, heavily centralized, and generally considered inadequate. As a consequence, many children attend private frontisteria institutions that tutor students outside normal school hours. Cultural life. The important sites of Greek antiquity at first attracted aristocratic and upper-class Europeans to the Greek lands in the 18th century, and which influenced architectural styles in the West, continue to attract tourists from throughout the world. Excavated sites such as the supposed tomb of Philip Roman II of Macedon at Vergina, the Pompey-like remains at Akrotiri on the island of Thera, and the Menon Palace at Zakros on Crete are a few examples of a remarkably rich heritage from antiquity that has still not been fully explored.